We seem to be having a fetish for e-ink displays.
So today, let's look at this terminal e-ink display that can help you get focused. Kind of, sort of.
Namaste, we're DHRME, Department of Honest Reviewers, Media Experts. So how did this product end up in our hands?
Yeah, so I heard about this through Snazzy Labs, Quinn's video. It seemed really interesting to me because what drew me to it is like a very open source kind of product. I think we've all had it with big tech companies and giant commercial products. And this product is very much in that open source vibe. You can write your code and things to display stuff on there. There are no microphones on it. There are no cameras on it. There's no touchscreen on it. It's very old school. And I kind of had a pang of nostalgia there.
Yeah, I think you sent me the link. You're like, this is so cool. We got to check this out. And I think what drew me to it was just e-ink. We've been doing a lot of minimalist tech on the channel. We've looked at the Books Palma. We've looked at the Mudita Compact. And so this fit in nicely in our area of interest recently. So what is the terminal without any vowels? So it's a fun e-ink display that can show or display ambient information. And what we mean by that is there's no interactive display. There's no touchscreen, right? Unlike the Books Palma or the Mudita Compact, you can't actually touch or tap the display. It doesn't do anything. And it shows reasonably static information, and it has a set refresh rate. So it'll fetch this information. We'll talk about that a little bit. But that's what it is in its basic essence. It has a little kickstand at the back to prop it up on a table or whatever. But it also has a hook holder thingy. So if you have a nail or a screw in the wall, you can just hook this up, and that works well. Battery, it lasts a long time, and that's because it's an e-ink display. But just like any e-ink display, it depends on the refresh rate. How often is this thing refreshing its display? The more frequent, the less battery life you're going to get. What would be cool though, even though these are the only two mounting or setting up methods, I would say get like a magnet with a sticky on the other side, stick it on this, and then you can just slap it on your fridge.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Especially since my fridge isn't magnetic. So
it isn't?
No.
Get another fridge, man.
No, and it kind of blends in. It's all wood.
Okay.
Anyway, so the reason I got it was see, when you buy something like this, you need to have a use for it, or you could just buy another toy. I got this for the dishwasher, and I can explain what that means. Recently, we switched energy contracts. So here in the Netherlands, you can have fixed rates, per unit you consume, or variable. And
you have peak and
off-peak.
Off-peak, yeah.
Yeah, and then you have dynamic, which is actually tied to an index of rates where
market rates
are fluctuating. And we went for a dynamic contract, like you went and I went separately. And what happened is I was getting into arguments with my wife about starting the dishwasher because I just do not care about these things. So I was like,
how do you not care?
The dishwasher is done. I'm going to just start it. And she's like, but this is not the optimal rate. You can maybe wait for a couple of hours. I was like, I don't got the patience for that. Yeah. So I had to install the app on both my phones to monitor those rates. So every time I now loaded the dishwasher, I was actually getting my phone out, wading through all my notifications, looking at the rate. Is it a good rate now?
That's the way you do it.
That's not how you do it. So I thought, hey, why not have a nice little display which can, and I actually didn't know if this was possible before I bought the terminal, but somebody has actually written an app for the Netherlands energy market, and it can give you kind of a live display of what the rates are.
Very cool.
And that's what I wanted on my fridge or in my kitchen. So next time I'm looking at starting my dishwasher, I'm not going to bother with checking my phone. That was the idea. But of course, you can do more things with it, right? You can have a calendar you can display. So you have appointments coming up, or you can have a shopping list.
Yeah.
Hey, the milk is over. I had shopping list, and it's always there.
Yeah.
So things like that, I thought that was nice. And no hassle of charging. So I can just put it up on the wall. And once a month or 2 or 3 months, depending on how I'm using it, with the battery upgrade that we got, we could just have it hanging.
Because just to touch upon that, so the price of this thing is 164 euros, but that is including $20 for a developer
edition,
as well as $10 for battery upgrade. And that battery upgrade is totally worth it because that takes this device from like 1 to 3 months, depending on the refresh rate of battery life, to 4 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Which you want to do, especially if you've got this, slapped against a fridge or hooked up against a wall or whatever.
Yeah.
Because the charging cable is the charging port rather is at the back of this device. And so taking it off, charging and putting it, all that.
I mean, for me, like that's kind of like they're really charging you for the hardware with some very thin margin on top.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if Apple gave you an iPhone with a lower battery and a higher battery. The higher battery variant would probably be double the price of the lower.
Just like what they do with SSD
storage.
and storage. Yeah.
So that's what I like about these kind of products. It feels very community and very open source. So now, how does it work in terms of communication? It's supposed to be a one-way communication device, right? So essentially, this is a dumb display, and what it's displaying right now, even though you're seeing a list or to-do list here, is essentially a bitmap. What it's doing is going to the server, give me the image I need, and just showing you an image. It doesn't know there's text on this. It doesn't know anything else. And that's what I like. It's a one-way communication. There's no privacy implications and things like that. And how you configure this is go to useterminal.com, and there are a few concepts that you need to understand before using this. So what you're seeing now is, let's say it's called a plugin, right? So this is a mashup of two to-do lists on the left and right. But you can use a recipe to make a plugin like this, a mashup, or a single plugin. So you could have just one of these lists. You could have a playlist, just like songs. You have many songs in a playlist. You have many mashups or recipes in one playlist. So you could have this one, and then it refreshes to something else, and you'll see soon that it'll refresh to something else, and it rotates things around. You could also have groups of playlists. So one playlist in the morning, one playlist in the evening, different kind of things. And you can have different refresh rates. The refresh rate, there's a system refresh rate, right? That's the minimum. So for example, your refresh rate, the system level is 15 minutes, and you set it in your playlist at 5 minutes.
Yeah, you're right.
It's always going to go to 15 minutes. That's because it won't go shorter than that to save battery life.
Correct.
Essentially. So those are some of the concepts you need to know to kind of understand the system.
Yep.
But once you do, it's pretty straightforward. It's all web-based. There's no apps to configure it and things like that.
Yep. There's one hardware element which we didn't touch upon, and that's a little button at the back and a switch.
This guy.
Yeah. One switch to power it on and off, and the other one is a button to actually refresh. So if you don't want to wait on the actual cycle frequency rate, whatever, you can click it and it'll take, and we time this, it takes 10 seconds, a little bit more, maybe 11 seconds for it to fetch the information again and move to the next recipe or mashup, whichever one you've set up.
What did I enjoy about it? Actually, after using it for a bunch, and you also use it a little bit.
Yeah.
One is that I could get the washing machine rates. It actually works. Somebody wrote a plugin connecting to some exchange, which picks up the rates. So that's nice. I could actually fork that plugin.
Okay.
Change a few things, change the text. I'm not much of a developer. I did some vibe coding, but I was able to get quite a few changes done. So it's pretty easy. If you have ChatGPT, you can just change that code. It's not so difficult.
And I think another thing that we were talking about is whether we're setting the washing machine or we're checking our calendar, we grab our phone, we go into it, and we get distracted.
Yeah.
Like everything, right? You go with one purpose in mind to your phone, and you look at your notifications, and then before you know it, you're scrolling through a random app that you didn't even intend to open when you went to your phone.
Yeah.
And so with this thing, it's quite cool that we said, wouldn't it be nice just to see our calendar on the wall? And this is kind of doing that, right? It's showing your calendar, and it's showing you the market rates and whatever other piece of information that you need at that moment.
Yeah.
So
also really very good visibility in sunlight, because I have a lot of sunlight in my kitchen. Yeah. If this was an OLED screen, I'd have glare like all day and night. But with this, it works better actually with ambient light. Yeah, that's a positive of an e-ink in general.
Yeah.
What else did we like about it?
Yeah, I like the fact that you don't have to charge it so frequently, right? But then again, that's the upside of e-ink.
Yeah.
And you really see that. Yeah, it's also built well.
Yeah.
Looks nice.
It's got this soft touch feel.
Yeah.
It's quite, nice looking. There you go. You get it in many colors. We got the black here, but you get it in white and some other colors as well.
And it kind of felt like there was an active community behind all of these plugins. And
people are developing stuff. Like even for something in the Netherlands, there was one.
Yeah.
And it's not like the biggest market I can imagine.
No.
So it's nice that it's there, and that terminal lets you mess around with all of that. It's really cool. That's some of the things we liked.
What didn't we like?
Yeah, it's not a perfect product.
No.
And I feel like it's still a bit rough around the edges. For example, we have a Google Tasks integration.
Yeah.
And that sorts by alphabetical order, which is kind of like, okay, can you fix this? Because, maybe Google doesn't have it in the API, that information. I don't know. But things like that, like the small things like that, you need to. And I expect that with a product like this, to be honest.
Yeah.
So it's also what your expectations are. If you're looking to buy a polished iPad kind of product, this is not it.
No. It's not a smart device.
It's not a smart device.
No.
It's literally meant to be a dumb
as possible.
terminal.
Yeah.
That's what a terminal is, right?
Yeah.
Staying focused.
Yeah. Did it help you stay focused and save you time? As I started to get familiar with the product, I noticed that I would probably not keep I would not set up a playlist or a group or anything. Maybe a group, but not a playlist. The reason why is because you have to wait for it to cycle through all of these, recipes.
Yeah.
And so I would just set it up as a mashup. So a split screen of just the information that I would really want to see. And that would usually be the calendar, the market rates, the energy rates, and maybe a to-do list. That is it. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe for you, pollen information.
Yeah. Like the information you're seeing here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stuff like that. You're right. In fact, at some point, I would say it kind of distracted me.
Yeah.
Because the way it refreshes, and you would have probably seen it when it happens, or let's give you an example of how it refreshes. Look at this. I press the button. Look at what's happening to the screen. It's blinking in and out and black and white, and your logo's coming in, and then it's going to your next one. As we said, it takes about 10 seconds. And then you have Dwight saying something interesting. But when you're actually working focused, like I was focused on my computer and I had this on the side, I could see that thing happening, and if you have it to 5 or 15 minutes, every 5 or 15 minutes, you're going to be distracted by something like this. So
this is exactly the reason why on my phone, I've turned off the always on display and I've put it on reduce interruption. So it doesn't light up every time, because every time that thing lights up or this thing changes, right, your eyes automatically are
actually taking away from focus instead of keeping it focused.
Yeah.
That was one thing. And we touched a little bit upon the next one. Refresh button at the back.
Yeah. So initially I thought, damn, there's no way to cycle through this. But luckily they did add a button. But why at the back?
Yeah.
That makes no sense, because yes, it's on the table now. And if I want to go to the next screen, I can grab it and I can find the button and I can push it and then go to the next one after 10 seconds. But if I'm putting this against the wall on a nail or a hook or whatever, I have to take it off the wall. Not going to happen, right? So that's the reason I was saying I would probably leave this on one mashup and that's it. It's a very static thing. I can't really interact with it easily. If they had put the button on the front or on the side or something, it would have been a lot nicer.
Yeah, but that's actually not the purpose of the device, that you keep cycling through stuff.
Yeah.
That's why they're, I think, on purpose designing it so that...
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Why did they...
I don't know. Maybe it's because of the refresh rate being slow. Maybe that's a design philosophy about, hey, let the display work for you rather than you telling the display what to do. I don't know what it is.
Let it blend into the background.
Yeah, it's just an ambient display.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be interacting with it. But I would like a little bit more. A little bit more would be enough. Not too much. Mm-hmm. And of course, the last thing is we're at the studio here. When I brought it to the studio the first time, it was like, oh, I need Wi-Fi. And then you have to connect to the terminal's Wi-Fi. Set up the Wi-Fi here, and I was like, fine, okay, I did that. I went back home. Hey, I need Wi-Fi. So it just remembers like one Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And it's quite annoying. I mean, it could at least keep a memory of 3 Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Networks,
but then again, on the other hand, I can imagine.
Yeah, I understand why they do it.
I can understand it. Yeah. This is just set it and forget it in one place. Don't take this everywhere.
No, it's not a projector.
Now, another thing is that you can actually customize the time per plugin.
Yes.
So every recipe in your playlist or in your group has the same refresh interval.
Exactly.
And that's a shame because, maybe when the calendar shows up or maybe your to-do list shows up, you want to be able to look at it a bit longer because it has more information. Or maybe that's a bad example. Maybe stock price. There's a lot going on, or your stats on something. You want to be able to see that for a bit longer and you don't want it to move quicker. But a quote from Dwight, maybe 10 seconds is good enough for that, and then it can move again. So unfortunately, you can't customize that.
So those are some of the things we didn't like. But again, this is for me a product from a time when the internet was a cool and helpful place, not like it is right now.
Yeah,
kids, it is really true. I'm not making it up. This is not hindsight bias. It reminded me of my days in Linux, in open source. This kind of takes me back to that place, and I like that. And it just feels like a helpful little device.
Yeah. If you can accept the fact that You can interact with it. At least you shouldn't, because it's not really made for that. And you're okay with just leaving this in the background somewhere. Not too close to where you work, because your eyes will get distracted. But apart from that, nifty. I like it.
You could also consider buying 3 of these and having 3 different displays on. I'm just saying.
Someone has too much money.
No, I mean, but if you want ambient displays, 3 little displays displaying 3.
Actually,
it would look quite cool as well. They'd look
like
nice.
energy market rates in the kitchen, calendar in your room, pollen information and weather in your bedroom. Maybe when you get up in the morning, you're getting ready. Yeah, kind of cool.
Links in the description. Something's happening to my voice.
You want to drink water?
Here, man. Oh yeah, very flammable. Just take a sip of water from our merch.
Speaking of merch, if you guys buy anything on shop.dhrme.nl, all proceeds will go for a good cause.
Yeah.
All right.
For the whole year.
And so, guys, this product we bought with our own money, not sponsored in any way. But a special thanks to you guys, our subscribers, our likers, commenters, all of you lovely people. A special thanks to our tested patrons and YouTube members over here.
And a big thanks to our Fuckman tier supporters, Jay, Paula, Rad's Panda, and Rachel. Thank you very, very much.
You've been naming products without vowels.
And we've been DHRME.
Do we?